What is the purpose of the genealogies at the beginning of First Chronicles? This is the question we seek to answer today as we begin our verse-by-verse study of the book of First Chronicles on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 1 to 28. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 1. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Chronicles chapter 1, beginning of verse 1. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Diphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarisha, Kittim, and Rodanim. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Reamah, and Sabtika. The sons of Reamah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. Mizraim begot Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Cashluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and the Caphtorim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusite, the Amorite, the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zamorite, and the Hamathite. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshech. Arphaxad begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan begot Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Ebal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan: Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram, who is Abraham. The sons of Abraham were Isaac and Ishmael. First Chronicles begins in a way we often hate, with a list of names. The only other book that I can think of that begins a similar way is the Gospel of Matthew, which again, people dislike too. And the reason that people dislike it is, for one, the names are hard to say. No, there are easy names like Adam and Noah, but then there are names like Tarshish, Naphtuhim, and Hazarmaveth, names that often tie the tongues of Bible readers. But the second reason we don't like to read about the genealogies is because we don't get the point. Is the chronicler just filling up space? Is he trying to make his readers fall asleep or make it hard for them to read it? And the answer is no on all accounts. You see, if this was our genealogies, we would find them very important. People are often intrigued to find out about their own family history back through the ages, especially if their family had someone important or powerful in the lineage. Who knows? We might be related to royalty. We might be related to rebels or other people of notoriety. Or we might be related to someone who is wealthy. Companies make big money researching family trees, and they're successful because people want to know. Well, for God's people, this is their ancestry, and from the religious point of view, which is the view of the chronicler, these genealogies are very important. Why? Because in Israel, you did need to know which tribe you were from to know which land you possessed. Knowing you were from the tribe of Levi was important, for the priests came from that tribe. And of course, knowing about the house of David was important because not only did kings come from that family, but the Messiah would come from it too. So these names are important for at least to read and acknowledge. And in reality, if we could all go back far enough, all the names mentioned here in what we read earlier are our ancestors too, because all of us, if we could trace ourselves back to Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, because we learned in Genesis that in the days of Noah, the rest of the world was destroyed in a flood, with only Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives being saved on the ark. And then, of course, if you could trace yourself back to Noah's sons, you could trace yourself back to Noah, and then ultimately back to the first human, Adam. Even if you believe in evolutionary biology, you have to admit that humans had to have a first from which we have all descended. Now, of course, I believe how we get to this common ancestor is through what the Bible describes as the direct creation of man in God's image, because I believe the evidence we have unearthed and the evidence that this universe demands is a designer, and they point to that conclusion. But First Chronicles is not really the place to have such a debate as this. For that, go listen to our Genesis series found at eastendchurch.org under the Media pull-down menu and the WTTB English podcast link. The chronicler assumes the creation of man by God, and so begins his genealogies there. All of these names are ones we've covered before in Genesis, so for a fuller understanding of who these people are, again, go listen to our Genesis series. The question I have for us to consider is, did the chronicler get the genealogies right? If this book is inspired of God, we would expect the answer to be yes, but let's examine it closer. The genealogies from verses 1 to 4 of 1 Chronicle read like this. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The corresponding genealogies in Genesis are found in Genesis 5, 3 to 32. Now, for time's sake, the way I'm going to read it is that I will read the name of the Father and that he begat the Son, and then skip to the next name so that we can get through these verses quickly. Genesis 5, beginning at verse 3, reads, And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness after his image, and named him Seth. Seth lived 105 years and begot Enosh. Enosh lived 90 years and begot Canaan. Canaan lived 70 years and begot Mahalalel. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared. Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. Lamech lived 182 years and had a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, This one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands, because the ground which the Lord has cursed. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. There are 11 generations mentioned from Adam to Noah's sons, and each name mentioned in 1 Chronicles 1 matches with that of Genesis 5. Of note among these names are Adam, the first man created by God, who, with his wife, sinned when they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. From our study of Romans, we learned with that sin entered the world and death through sin. But we don't sin because Adam sinned. We don't inherit a sin nature because Adam sinned. For Romans 5 verse 12 says that death spread to all men because all sinned. We face physical death as a consequence of God taking away the tree of life due to Adam's sin. But we face spiritual death because we sin. Sure, sin entered the world through Adam, but we're responsible for our own sin. Seth is another name of note, for he is the son had by Adam and Eve to replace Abel, whom Cain killed. From Seth came another man of note, Enoch, the righteous man who never died, for God took him directly to heaven. Methuselah, the oldest man ever recorded, and of course Noah, the man who found grace in the sight of the Lord and who was saved by the Lord, along with his family from the flood because of their faith in God. After the flood, we all then descended from either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. Let's quickly look at their genealogies in 1 Chronicles and compare them to Genesis, for those lists are found in Genesis 10, verses 2 to 29, and Genesis 11, verses 10 to 26. For brevity, we'll only cover the list of names covered by the chronicler. For Japheth, 1 Chronicles 1, verses 5 to 7 says, The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Diphath, and Togmarah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshiah, Kittim, and Rodium. Now let's compare with Genesis 10, verses 2 to 4. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togmarah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dotnium. You'll notice in these lists there are differences in 3 names. And yet, when you examine the names, you'll notice that we're clearly talking about the same man, but using a different spelling of his name. Remember, Genesis was written by Moses some 1,000 years before 1 Chronicles, while Chronicles was written after Babylonian captivity, whose language would have easily had influence on the language the Jews spoke. It's sort of like us referring to someone as Joseph in one place and Jose in another. Both are the same person's name, with the name coming from a different language. And then, of course, add to that there could be a later scribal error from what may have originally been written, and we have suitable and plausible explanations for the differences. Moving on to Ham, 1 Chronicles 1, verses 8 to 16 said, The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raama, and Sabtika. The sons of Raama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. Mizraim begot Ludum, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphutim, Pathrusim, and Cashlehim, from whom came the Philistines and the Casroim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusite, the Amorite, and the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, and the Sinite, the Arvadite, the Zamorite, and the Hamathite. Genesis records this list in Genesis 10, 6-20, which again we will shorten for brevity. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raama, and Sabtika. And the sons of Raama were Sheba and Dedan. Mizraim begot Ludum, Anamim, Lahibim, and Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, and Cashlehim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusite, the Amorite, and the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, and the Sinite. Notice from this list again, there were a couple of differences in spelling, but again, it was the same list. People of note here are Mizraim, whose other name is more familiar to us, which is Egypt, and Canaan, who dwelt in what later became known as the land of Canaan, and from him descended all the peoples who lived there, before Israel came in and conquered that place, though they didn't fully extinguish these peoples, as seen in the book of Judges. And lastly, we have the descendants of Shem. 1 Chronicles 1, verses 24-28 reads, Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram, who is Abraham. The sons of Abraham were Isaac and Ishmael. The corresponding names in Genesis, again shortened for brevity, is found in Genesis 10:22 and Genesis 11:10-26. Genesis 10:22. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Genesis 11:10-26. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. Arphaxad lived 35 years and begot Salah. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. Now Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. We skip 1 Chronicles 1, verses 17-23 in order for it to be easier to show the corresponding lists. But if you compare them with Genesis 10 and 11, you'll notice that they match with the exception that the chronicler mentions Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshech as sons of Shem, while Genesis says they were sons of Aram. It could very well be that a copyist error omitted that fact from Chronicles, or it could be that Aram's sons were counted as sons of Shem, following Jewish tradition of saying that sons of doesn't necessarily mean literal son, but it could mean grandson or descendant as well. Regardless, the names match with some minor spelling variations, showing us that in regards to these lists, we can trust them, and they lay a solid foundation for the inspiration from God, who does not make mistakes. The most important descendant of Shem is Abraham, the father of the Hebrew people, which is likely why Shem is mentioned last in this list. Abraham had 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac. From our studies of Genesis, we know that Isaac was the seed of promise through whom the Messiah would come, but that didn't mean that Ishmael was discarded, for he would become a nation too, something we'll see, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verses 29-37, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.